Do not, though, forget how the story and the customer experience affect this overall conversation. They are the star. I told you that at the top. We've talked about this, every time I've come back to the zoomed out big picture view of things. You will never master the way that things work before they change again. Because that's the world we're living in right now, is one that is adapting to outside stress, outside pressure, outside change. So mistakes are going to happen. You know this. You know that there are going to be times when you execute poorly. There are going to be times when you accidentally send the wrong link. There are going to be times when you don't fulfill the promise, and that's okay. Like, we're all cool with it. As long as we're communicating and we recognize that same softness and gentleness that's happening, because we're all new to this, can be sort of navigated around with a little bit of communication, a little bit of just sort of, hey, is this process working for you? Are you getting everything that you wanted? Tell me if there's something that could be improved upon. Which leads right into the second one, which is, I want you to employ empathy. I think right now, again, as things change, it's going to be hard. The best way to use empathy is to prevent things from happening. Put a colleague through your process. Test how it feels to be the customer. Practice it a few times. Look for things that might present a problem. In the whiteboarding examples and the drawings examples, I really like the idea of sort of like grabbing a couple images that you could import rather than having to draw everything from scratch. If you know you're going to need this complex idea to be represented, maybe store it in that environment so that you have it in advance. I know that if some major deals that I've worked had hinged on my art ability, they would not have gone through. Especially if I have to draw with my mouse. So the goal is to find shortcomings before your customers find them. And then as you go through, again, try to remember what it's like to be the customer, what it's like to go through a disjointed process, especially if this sale that you're making or this connection that you're making has any sort of emotional value to the other party. Like, my brother just bought his first house. It's the first time he's ever bought a house. And I promise you that when he and his wife were thinking about what their first house purchase was going to be, this was not what they thought was going to happen. Showing up in a mask to a place while someone looks at their watch, trying to make sure that they don't hang out and they don't touch anything that doesn't need to be touched. And then finally, I want you to begin with the end in mind. You've heard this before, it's kind of cliche, but it is the secret to many of the successes that I've had, because I think about what it is that I want people to say immediately following their interaction with me. I think about a specific sentence that I want them to say to someone close to them. So if I'm giving a speaking engagement, I want to say, like, okay, I want you to say when you hit the door, when you're pushing on that push bar out into the lobby, wow, I'm really energized. And then I think about that and I try to figure out how I can make that happen while I'm actually interacting with you as my audience. If you're struggling for what yours might be, use this one here, which is start the interaction with the goal of getting referrals. I am a monster fan of the apostle, the faithful follower who tells you, oh, my friend could really benefit from working with you. This means delivering on your promises and going back to what we talked about on Tuesday about the story, the marketing that you gave them needs to be true. It needs to be real. It needs to be self-evident, as opposed to me just telling you that you're happy or me just assuming that you're happy. So if in the ad or if in the marketing push, the PR piece that they read that showed up in the newspaper, they were led to expect something, and they don't get it, that's a negative. That actually, it's a net negative by the time it all gets said and done, because they say, well, you know, I went with Scott because I thought I was going to get what was promised, but that's not actually how it turned out. And that's the story that they're going to tell. They will tell their friend who asks about this interaction, hey, you bought from Scott, how'd it go? It was okay. He didn't really do bad. It was still a pretty good value. I probably would do it over again, maybe. But it didn't turn out exactly the way he said it was going to, and I just kind of feel like I got taken for a ride. Do the hard thing here and ask the customer if they got what was expected. Ask them bluntly, did you get what you thought you were going to get? So let's jump to the truly hard part, right? This is the close. This is the bit, frankly, like even when people are trained, they're bad at closing. There's a couple different reasons. One, because you don't want to be salesy. Another, because, you know, it kind of feels like you've pushed all your chips into the middle of the table, and it's a gamble. I promise you that the customer will prefer to get to it quickly and not have you just keep talking in the hopes that they'll just roll over and give you their money. They want a structured process. They want it to be a show. Every good show has an ending, and it's your job to tell them when it ends. You need to make sure you're clear. But the rules have changed. Again, coming back to COVID, coming back to not being in the same room. So if you are in the sales business or you've been an entrepreneur and you've tried to close things, here's a half dozen different ways that people will typically try to close a deal. I'm going to run through these ones one by one because I think it's valuable. The summary close is fantastic. The summary close is great. If you have like a warehouse, you know, where your environment and your customer experience, your customer journey resembles shopping or stockpiling, and you just go, oh, okay. So, yeah, you wanted the dry pasta and you wanted the sauce, and you threw in all those vegetables. I think that's everything, right? I think there wasn't anything else. Okay, that's going to be $200. So I'm going to get the paperwork all over. Get your credit card out. Summary close is basically, I'm going to say everything that you said you want and just tell you how much it is. And if you reach for your wallet, then I'm not going to fight you. The puppy dog close, which is, by the way, not probably the professional way that it's named by people that practice it, but, again, it's just going to have to be all right. The puppy dog close is really popular in the car, in the mattress businesses. I'm sure there's others, but the mattress business loves to tell you can sleep on our mattress for 30 days, and then if you like it, you pay for it. Especially since Casper was as successful as they were, and Purple and other different people were like, let's mail you a mattress and see how you like it, and keep it if you like it. But the problem is that that's kind of gross when you're talking about something that might potentially have, any number of sort of COVID touch points on it. Cars the same way. Going back to our friends at Giant Eagle, I don't mean to pick on them, but normally they take returns. That is over for right now. They're not taking returns on anything under any circumstances. And literally they announced it over top the speaker system, which I thought was interesting. The ticking clock, we're all used to this, right? Today only. There's a special. If you sign up today, today's the last day for this promo that we're doing. Oh, it's so lucky you came in today. Fear of loss. Hey, look, the one you want, there's only one left. This is especially for big ticket items. Cars come to mind immediately. Houses, if you're in real estate, like, oh, well, that's the only one in this school district. It's the only car with silver paint, whatever. The either or. You'll also hear this referred to in very dire, stark terms. I'll call this the fatal choice, which is hilarious. Do you want the green one or do you want the red one? Doesn't matter which one you pick. You just told me you're taking one. again, I should point out, these are before we all went on lockdown. We'll get to that, why that is in a minute. The sharp angle close, this is the if this, then that. It has different names, but effectively, you will close a lot of deals based on accepting someone's hypothetical question as a firm offer. It's not fair. It's not, I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but I will say that I'm not a giant fan of it. So if someone says, well, can you take $5,000 off of this car that you're trying to sell me? And you say, if I do that, will you take it today? These are the things in a normal pre-COVID shutdown kind of an environment that businesses use every day. The problem is, in my humble estimation, is that a remote buyer has not invested as much. It takes a lot to go to that car dealership. It takes a lot to go look at a house. It takes a lot to drive to a showroom. I'm invested. I don't want to leave. I don't want to go to another place like this. I don't want to come back. I'd really just like this to be over. So some of these shenanigans and things that maybe I don't love as a buyer, I put up with them because I really just want this to be over with. And I know that if I leave and go to a different place, I'm going to encounter probably the same behavior. So it's not worth throwing a fit over today. If I'm talking to you on Zoom from my dining room table, though, there's a really good chance I just shut the door on you and just shrug because I just don't care, because I didn't burn any gas. I didn't probably even wear pants, right? I can disengage whenever I want if I'm that buyer. I can ghost you when you try to get back in touch with me, and it's really not hard. I am further away. I am harder to mend fences with, and it changes the way we close. So I strongly recommend that you take the most direct route right now. And I think that couples well with what we got in that survey about don't waste my time, be direct with me. They want a solution to their pain. They're open to having you approach. I think you should return the favor by just being as direct in your close as possible. So just ask for it. Straight up. Are you ready to move forward? That's going to stick right around here the first couple of times you try to do it. Because one of the reasons that those closes, and I only went through a half dozen, there's 30 more where that came from. But one of the reasons that people like those is because they are not so gambly. They are not so risky. It doesn't feel like a thing I can't return from if you say no. But again, we've already assumed that they can say no and skip out on us whenever they want. So if they're still with you, it's because they intend to be. Don't get cute. Just ask for the close. Specifically, this bullet point says, if you don't take credit cards, start. The long form version of this is make your transaction as easy as possible. Make it so that their experience is what they want. On the marketing call on Tuesday, we talked a little bit about a call to action being immediately available to someone that has received a marketing outreach. They got your email, they're on your website, they saw you on social media, whatever. Don't make them go look for you on Google. Don't make them try to find your phone number. Let them push a button. The call to action should be right next to the case that you presented. Same thing when you're getting through the sales process. It doesn't make sense to make it harder than it needs to be. So yes, I like the verbiage of this of just don't insist on cash. Don't insist on checks. I promise you. People that take credit cards spend more money anyway. It really doesn't matter. That 3% you're worried about is not really a worry. It will be replaced by increased ticket values. But if you'd like me to defend myself a little bit better than that, let's talk about, again, the commitment piece. We make our negotiation. We go through our steps of the sale. You tell me you're going to mail me a check, but then it never arrives. That's happened to all of us. It's because, and I said this on Tuesday, time kills all deals. Well, this is the room where that's the most true. The closing room is where it's the most true. If they give you that credit card payment, then it's over in their mind. Mentally, it's over. It's when you have to write the check 3 hours later that it feels like you've reopened the decision-making process all over again. I really would like to see everyone make themselves aware of payment plans. I'm not saying adopt them, but at least educate yourself on them. If we know that people are signing up for the PPP, the PUA, the bailout monies of various different stripes and colors and places that they came from, then it's reasonable to assume that money is going to be a big stumbling block for a sale of any sort of import size price tag. Buy today, pay tomorrow sounds great. And if you remember earlier in today's presentation, I actually showed it as one of the ways that you can get somebody's attention immediately in your intro. I think it's that powerful. I think it's that important that you say that up front. So I understand, though, if you don't want to carry that debt. I understand not wanting to keep like the Kmart layaway ledger under your desk. I can understand that being difficult. Square and PayPal, obviously, they're going to take a piece of the deal. But Square and PayPal will help you with that if you need help. If you sell really big ticket items, I don't think this is as big of a problem. I think a lot of the lenders have actually stepped up. There's a lot of car companies now that are advertising where they will, defer payments for 90 days, things like that. But Square and PayPal, I believe it was PayPal that reduced installment thresholds down to as little as $30 items can be paid in installment, which is amazing to me. You get paid right up front, customer pays over time because Square and PayPal have enough cash that they can carry the debt. So macro level though, get out of the weeds. What you're trying to do is you're trying to accommodate a buyer who is constantly being buffeted by new changes, by new things to adapt to, and you're trying to give them a sense of certainty in a world that is not offering them a ton of it. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to engineer a giant architected problematic deal. Give them what they're asking for. Be direct, streamline the deal. And that's it. That's our sales presentation for today. I think we covered a lot. I would love to have some questions, even if they're specific to you. Hopefully you enjoyed today's content. Even if it's just a comment, I'd love to hear that. Jump into the chat box in your Zoom software. Shoot questions and comments now. And if you'd like to sign up, the Secret Weapons for Business email will go out next week. And that is a fun little add-on where you can just kind of keep your mental wheels turning over time.
Wow. I have a question. Wait for me.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
Hi. Thank you for that. That was great. One of the things I'm sort of thinking about is cold calling. Maybe it's not even specifically cold calling. Maybe there's a little bit of a referral there. But how do we sort of promote this human interaction and ask people for a sale when things are uncertain at this time, or even funding for new ventures? How do we reach out with these sorts of questions?
I think a lot of the same rules that we talked about in the intro step are going to apply to the answer that you're looking for, right? So it's punchy, direct. Tell me how, as the recipient of your outreach, I benefit. okay? I have a friend who said it in a really funny way. He said, the email I want to get is free money, no strings, click here, right? And obviously, I think we all want that. He is not alone in that feeling, but the reason is because it's concise. It clearly says how you benefit as the recipient, and it doesn't ask you to do a heavy lift in order to make it come true, right? So when we did this B2B survey that I was referencing earlier, I fully expected people to tell me that they were disinterested, if not outright hostile to the idea of being marketed to and having people call them with sales ideas. Like, oh, I've got a new idea for you. Sounds like probably at least to me, I felt it was probably pretty far away from what people wanted. And that didn't end up actually being what the data told us. The data told us that they do want to be approached, but they don't want to be approached with trifling things that don't apply right now. Again, say it, prove it, quit. Just be done. Jump in, tell them how they benefit. Don't apologize, because all that does is make it take more time. Okay, that's like, I think a lot of times when people agree to get into the water, the first thing that they do is they say, I'm sorry to bother you. I know this is bad timing. I'm sorry if you're struggling. Okay, cut all of that out. Hi, I'm Alyssa. I thought of you because X. What I do is Y. You benefit because Z.
Mm. Yeah.
The first few are going to go really badly. Okay. So your first 10 to 50, depending on how long it takes you to feel warmed up, I want you to start with people that you don't expect much from. So you're not using your bad repetitions on people that feel like your best customer. Okay. Practice in the ones that are in the gray zone, where you're like, I don't know, maybe I don't know what they really do. Maybe I have this wrong, right? Because the first, say, 5 or 10, you're not going to be as good at it. So, I mean, don't just call strangers and waste strangers' time because you're a vampire for time. But, you know, find the people that you were going to call, but not as convinced it was a great fit, and get your rap down first. But it's going to, like I said, it's going to stick in your throat the first couple times you try to do it. And if you send it as an email, it's even more important that it be really, really terse. Like I say that's a word that has negative connotation. I'm fully aware of that fact. But again, I don't think people want greeting cards right now. They're getting too many emails right now. Tell me why you emailed me and why I care.
Right.
What is it that you're working on specifically?
I have a new venture idea, a new startup idea. I might be looking for funding. I might like to go straight to academia. It's pretty lofty. So yeah, I don't know how to ask people for resources, because it is just a really wicked problem that I'm trying to tackle. So
Funding's different because of the power dynamics. So you do actually, in a lot of cases, have to build at least the beginnings of the niceties into it. Hi, I know about you from X. I thought you might be interested in my venture. Here's why. Tell me if you want to hear more. But again, be ruthless in your editing.
right.
If it's 5 sentences, you've gone too far. I don't care what you're selling. I don't care what your venture is. In that first couple sentences, they're going to decide whether or not they want to hear from you or not. So make it good. Shoot me an email. I'll help you if I can.
Cool. Yeah, will do. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Going once. I'm gonna break the whiskey out. Okay, I have no chill. I'm just gonna go drink. Okay, that's what's happening next. I promise you. Ron Gatos.
What you drinking?
That's an Ardbeg 10.
Here you go.
And that's Liberty Pole, just standard bourbon out of Washington, PA, represent.
Oh, very good.
And that's what I've got right here by my desk. Let's get
I have
back on
the
target so I seem like a
the
professional.
Wiggle bourbon that funded
Oh,
their
wait,
hand
Wiggles, all right, too.
sanitizer.
Don't
So-
drink that, please.
No, that was the vodka. So my question is, if I'm offering a service that they won't pay for until they use it to make money themselves, sounds like the scheme is the same.
You're already built for this, yes.
Yeah.
Well, for part of it, right? They still need to see it as a why now. Like, you need to be able to answer why now pretty quickly.
Yeah, how else are you going to
I'm
find
familiar
it?
with your business. Like, I'm familiar with your business, so I'm going to cheat and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit on this question. And I'm going to say, if I were trying to sell the kinds of services that you're into, I would be talking about how this is a perfect time to reorganize, and I'd be trying to find those kinds of people that they're looking at everything and it feels like they don't know what to do next. The word I would use here is prescriptive. A lot of people are looking for someone to tell them what to do, and that also we found in the survey. They want to be given a specific plan, especially when it comes to services. Tell me what you think I should do. Now, if it feels like garbage, then I won't do it. Right? I mean, it's not like they're just going to walk off the plank.
I ran into that. It just
But,
did,
well, no, I mean,
they
you
didn't
should.
want it to be prescriptive, but that was a different thing.
Look.
That was a funder.
Fully 20% of our respondents flat out said that it doesn't matter what you say. They don't know enough about what happens in the future to make any decisions right now. They're just going to stay the course that they were already on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, only 20.
You know, that's what I said. I really thought that number would be higher.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing what you're talking about, I'd be trying to match to my targeting, right, that we talked about last time, right? Who is my ideal customer profile? Who is it that's best for me? And then I'd try to target that way. And then when I make the approach, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to confirm that they're in the target group I thought they were in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, hey, a lot of people are doing reorganization right now. Are you one of them? Because I have an interesting way if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then shut up.
That's
Because
good.
at that point, your chips are in the middle of the table, right? We're going to find out.
Mm-hmm.
If they say, I don't know, it depends, for you, you know this, I guarantee you've gotten this response. There are going to be some people who immediately start crying on your shoulder, but in that angry sort of salty way. Yeah, if I could hire any employees. Yeah, if I could pay anyone, right? That's a feature. That's not a bug. Okay? When they start talking to you like that, they are literally telling you they're paying.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people balk at that because it sounds growly. It sounds like this person is going to be, is trying to get me off the phone, and they're going to get more hostile if I stay on the phone, so I should hang up. Right? Or they should, if you get an email response of any kind, I'm sorry, the door's been opened. If you get an email and they say anything
Totally.
at all, other than questioning your mother's parentage, you're at least welcome to take another shot.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that in your space, it is likely that you will ask them if they are using this time or if they feel compelled during this time to look at the way they're organized, to protect themselves from future doubt. And then you listen. And when they tell you that it's really hard to be who they are, then the answer to that is, well, then why don't you change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds good.
Cool.
We have something else a little bit more
thing.
involved. I'll email you about.
Yeah, do that. One last thing. I think it's a good idea for something complex like what you do to keep a journal of how people respond to certain punch points.
Always good. Yeah.
right?
I have
We do
scraps
this
of
with
paper all over the desk. Yeah, but I'll keeping collected would be good.
I call it my old man notebook. Yeah, I just I scribble things in this little pint-sized notebook. But what I'm listening for is basically the same kind of data points that I get from a digital marketing campaign. Okay, when you have a social campaign, you know what people click on and you know what they don't click on. But for some reason, we do one-to-one emails, and when we do phone calls or when we do other types of outreach and connection, we don't listen for they asked for more detail when I said this. They told me to slow down when I said that, right? That type of a journal is immensely useful, but because it's not digital, it doesn't get the respect it deserves. Because it's really easy when it's a Facebook ad and you can just, check on, see how many eyeballs you got, how many clicks you got, how many conversions you got.
It's my phone log.
Oh, you got an old man notebook too. I love it.
I've had those since I was a building contractor, and I'd have to say, I told you that was $4,200. Flip.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Send me that email.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions going on? Let's see any, but that doesn't mean I'm right. All right, gang, I'm going to call it. Thank you for your attention today. Again, shoot me a note. Jump into Secret Weapons for Business. I think you'll like it. And yeah, if I can be of any use to you, let me know.